Hey there, we are live. I'd like to do a very quick microphone check and sound check. So Lacey, can you go ahead and give me a quick text and let me know that you can hear me? And we're going to wait until we've got just a couple more minutes. We're going to start right on time. So I thought I would get here a little early to allow people to get into the room. And Lacey, if you can hear me, just text me. And Brian, if you can hear me, text me. All right. So we've got some additional people coming in. And as always, why don't you tell us where you're at? Just introduce yourself. And Lacey says they can hear me loud and clear. So I guess you guys are hearing me. And go ahead and introduce yourself, just your first name and where you're calling from. Because I know that we got people from all around the world that are showing up to these live streams. And today I'm really excited. It's the best stuff yet. This is going to be good stuff, I think. Hopefully it's not going to be too woo-woo. It's really about mindset. So Diane from Wisconsin, welcome. All right. So we've got 17 people. We're going to wait until the top of the hour, and then we're going to get started at the top of the hour. And today we're talking about a winning mindset in your job search. And actually, that's the number one thing. It's the number one thing that is very important in looking for a job. I've found that if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to find that perfect job. In fact, if you are laid off, which I know that 50% of the people from last week's live stream were laid off or unemployed. And so if you're searching for a job and you're laid off, you've really got to put the past behind you before you start looking toward the future. So we're actually going to do an exercise today in changing your energy to shift it to the positive versus just the negative or reactive energy that you might be feeling. So I think you guys are going to get a lot out of today. So just so you know, we've got 3 moderators. One of them is my lovely and talented husband. The other is my lovely and talented assistant, Lacey. So we've got Brian Kabell and Lacey Schicky, and then we also have Philip Brown, and he's our UK coach. He's the coach in the UK. All right. And Bonnie says, amen. Yeah. You've got to put the past behind you. You've got to put it to bed before you can move forward. You cannot hold a grudge, sour grapes, anything, and actually expect to find a better job. But what I found is that if you are unemployed, you actually can get a job faster than if you're employed, which is pretty nice. But most of our clients that are unemployed get jobs much faster than those who are employed. We've had a lot of clients that will actually quit their job, take a package, if there's a package that's open, and then take that package, and we can help them find a job before that package runs out, and then they can bank the rest of it. You can put that in your savings. So we've got just one more minute, and then I'll go ahead and officially get started. And we're actually going to watch some slides that we put together. So I'm very, very excited about this information completely. All right. Let's go ahead. We've got a good crowd here so far, and I think it's going to just continue to get bigger. So let me go ahead and get the slides. Oh dear. It's my resume writer just called me. Okay, let me do the slide presentation. I'm going to start that right on time. Actually, a minute early. And let's see, we're going to do that one. Make sure oh, look at me. Okay, I'm actually in the corner of the career resume consulting, so you're not going to be able to see that. But that's I don't think that's going to hurt. As a matter of fact, let me make myself a little bit smaller. There we go. I'm going to make myself a tiny bit smaller. So this is your mindset during a career search. This is actually the one thing that you have to have right in order to get a job. If you have nothing else, you've got to have the right mindset. So we're going to go through some of the things that you can do, some of the techniques that you can do to change your mindset when you're feeling down. So first, let me explain that every single person, no matter how talented, no matter how successful their search is going, they always have the emotional roller coasters in a job search. Job search is actually, I think, third or fourth in the most stressful times of change, or the most stressful thing that can happen to you is, I think it's number 3 or number 4. And, you know, like marriage or divorce or death of a loved one, something like that. It's a big change. So change is messy. Change is very hard, but it is worth it in the end. Most of our clients, actually all of our clients, get better jobs than the one that they left. And they are actually very happy and thankful that they got laid off and that they were able to find this perfect job. So the better job is out there for you. So we're going to talk about mindset today. All right. So I know you might not be able to read that, but I am going to give you at the end of the hour, I'm going to give you the PDF to these slides so that you'll be able to take these home and read them. And then, as a matter of fact, I forgot to put the first one together. It says the one thing. I can tell you that what I wanted to say is exactly what I said before I started it. And I forgot to write it out. It just says the lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. Great. Okay, wonderful. My face just got a little red, just like my shirt. All right. So the number one thing is a perfect mindset. You can have a nasty resume. If you've got a wonderful winning mindset, you're actually still going to get the job. Now, resume does help, and so does a LinkedIn profile these days. But the number one thing is your mindset, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So this all came about from I think it was last week's live stream that I had Randall, one of the live stream participants. He asked a very touching question. His question was, please speak to the psychology of job seeking, interviewing, and negotiating. Sometimes I feel defeated before I even begin, anxious that my skills and experience aren't right or aren't enough. Have you ever felt that way? And he says, I think I should feel like I own my experience, but all I can think of is, please give me a job offer. So we're going to talk about mindset because I always say to my clients, hiring managers are like horses and snakes. They can smell fear. So if you're in a you're in a room with a decision maker, or even on video with a decision maker, and you're desperate and you put off that energy of desperation, they're going to feel that. They're going to know it. And it's not attractive. It is a completely different energy than being confident and calm, collected, all of those C's. You really want to be confident when you're going into any kind of interview situation, whether it's a phone interview, a video interview, or a face-to-face interview. That's very, very important. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to get out of the blues when you're traveling down that roller coaster that everybody goes on, even if you're having a good search. Even the clients that get jobs in 8 to 12 weeks, they go through that roller coaster. They just go through it a lot faster. And then they're talking to the perfect opportunity, maybe 6 weeks into it, and within 8 weeks, they've got a job. That does happen. And it could happen for you. I want to let you know that there's been more outliers on the short end than on the long end for us in the last 12 months. And that really doesn't have anything to do with us. I really think that has to do with the economy. And yes, I know about the pandemic. I'm not blind about that. But I can tell you that we're seeing a huge uptick in hiring. So I want you, first of all, to understand the reality. That's why I brought in the stats that I did last week, because you have to understand that we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. In other words, we had 2.5 million jobs that were created. And actually, it wasn't really publicized, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics came back a couple days later and said, oh, we messed up on that number a little bit. So it's a little lower because what they had done was they had included into the unemployed number the people who were unemployed but not getting unemployment checks. And so they had included that number in it, and they weren't supposed to. So it was like an accounting error. So actually, instead of going down to 13.7%, I think it's now 13.9% or something like that. So they had to do a refresh of those. I think it was over the weekend that happened, but nobody heard about that part. So let's talk about the job market just a little bit, and also how you're going to attack the job market from a mental standpoint. I just want to, before we get started, I want to tell you why you should listen to me. I go through this every time, just in case there's some newbies out there. Basically, I've done this for 17 years, and the first 5 years I was in an executive career firm, the largest one in the country at the time. It had about 400 people in it, and now this has about 11 people. Our firm has 11 people in it, and we are very boutique. We work with a limited number of clients, and we help them get their perfect job, the type of job that checks all of your boxes, instead of the boxes of an HR representative that's 26, or not dissing anybody that's 26, but you've all probably had recruiters or the HR representatives that are a lot younger than you that really don't know what you do for a living and really don't understand what you're going after. So we're going to talk about how to keep a positive, something positive this during this search, even in pandemics. I can tell you that our clients are still getting calls. I'm not saying that for you to come work with us. I'm saying that because I want to tell you the market is still active. People are still getting jobs. You know, in the US, we lost 40 million jobs very quickly over the course of about 10 to 12 weeks. And that's a lot. That's a record. That's a record. That's even more than the Great Depression. And it happened extremely quickly. And so now these companies have to make up for lost time, and they are rehiring. They're not always rehiring the people that they hired before. They may be open to other opportunities. And that's what I'm finding, is that a lot of our clients are getting calls from employers that are doing some hiring now. They're getting back up to speed. They're getting up rock and rolling. I mean, not everybody is open yet, but we're getting there. And so what I'm also finding is that they are a lot more open to remote positions, even if you're an executive. That's pretty cool. I'm very, very excited about that. So let's talk for a moment about Brett from Boise. So Brett has been working with us he did all three of our programs. Basically, he did the resume and LinkedIn profile so that he had a great perception, a great first impression. He also did the active outreach program, which we call Networking Superhighway. And then he did the unlimited interview and negotiation coaching. And he was one of I would call him a star student, because I only had to tell him something once and he executed it flawlessly. He was amazing. And it took him 6 months to find his perfect job. Interestingly enough, he found his employer that he ended up going with about 8 weeks into his search. He found them within 2 months, but it took 4 months to actually create this position for him, because it was a brand new division and they're expanding into North America in a services group. And he went from a very large technology company to a $400 million. And when I say large, like 26 billion, I mean, just a huge company, to a $400 million company, which is really kind of mid-size. Mid-size is between 250 million and 500 million in annual revenue. So he's in Boise, and he was really worried about being able to find something without leaving. And it was only by chance that he talked to this person 8 weeks into his search that was in Columbus, Ohio. And they really got along. They clicked. And so the guy said, you know, I really want you on my team and I want to create something for you. I think we're going to be expanding into North America, because they're mostly in Europe. And so, you know, it took 4 months to actually get the written offer, but he did get the offer. And since I'm not telling you all about him, I can tell you what the difference is in the compensation. So he was making about $187,000 total. And then with this new position, not counting the signing bonus, he's going to be making $345,000. So there is the opportunity to create a much better job for you where you have a lot more impact, especially if you're going from like a medium fish in a very big pond to a big fish in a medium pond. That is big fish, little pond should be a name of a book I write. That's what we help people do, is become a big fish in a little pond. And that really does work. But I wanted to mention something that he said to me this week, actually. So he got his job offer on Tuesday, and we were talking on Tuesday night. We were going through what we were going to counter. And actually, the only thing we could counter on is the number of weeks vacation, because the employer came back at a higher rate than what they had first agreed to. And it was even higher by the base was higher by $10,000 than what we were going to counter with. So it was great. It was great. It was $45,000 more per year than what they had agreed to earlier, which is really, really fortunate. And so he said to me, I kept waiting and waiting, and I had nights I could not sleep. And I kept thinking, when is this ever going to end? This is like Groundhog Day. They keep saying, give us another 30 days, give us another 30 days. It was going on forever. And he said, and then all of a sudden, boom, it happened. Just happened like that. And he said, this was the best experience. And it was really funny because he wouldn't have said that a week earlier. So, we were getting up to it. There was so much anticipation. And he said that was the best experience ever. And this is my absolute perfect job. I am so happy. And I'm telling you this because what I want you to do, one of the things I want you to do is to decide what is your perfect job. What are those boxes that you want to check? So let's go into some general principles. These are some general things that I feel are important to keep in mind when you're doing a job search. Okay. So the first thing is defining your perfect job. I want that to be a written exercise. This is the prize in the room. Okay. So what you're wanting to do is describe the activities that you would be doing every day. You want to define what's the size. And I want it to be, if you don't know annual revenue, maybe you're thinking number of people. So I'd love it to be between 200 and 500 people. That would be a good size for me. Now, keep in mind, I have found that a company that makes less than $10 million in annual revenue usually cannot pay a market rate. So if you're looking for a startup, you're going to be paid a lot in equity, of course. And so just think about something. The sweet spot really in most of the US is between 10 million and 50 million in annual revenue per year. So yes, annual revenue per year. So what you want to do is define that perfect job. What does it look like? Who are you reporting to? What's the job title? You can put down 2 or 3. But think about, as in a matter of fact, in the chat, go ahead and put, what's the job title of your perfect job? Let's go ahead and state it, because that's a micro commitment. That's saying, this is what I want. It's almost like planting a stake in the ground, planting the US flag on the moon. So what is that perfect job for you? Put that into the chat. I'd love to see that. All right. I'm going to go into chat to take a look. All right. Lots of questions. So, okay, here's something to note. I am going to be doing this PowerPoint presentation for about 40 minutes or so, and then I'm going to answer some questions from you that you have given to me throughout the week. I got a lot of questions, so I'm not going to be able to answer all of them, but I will be able to answer most. And then if you've got questions during this presentation, just put them in the chat, and then I'm going to have Lacey and Brian actually text me those questions, and that way I can answer some questions that are going on right now this hour. Okay, so I want you to define your perfect job. Take an hour, sit down with a piece of paper, and I will tell you it will be more ingrained in your unconscious if you do it with a piece of paper and a pen. If you take a pen to it and write it down, not a pencil, a pen, because that's more permanent. You take a pen and you write that stuff down, and then you keep that with you, so that if you have those down days, you put that on your fridge, you put that on your mirror in your bathroom. You're going to look at it every day. And if you get into that funk, if you get into that down cycle, which usually happens because of a rejection, you're in a hiring process and you come in second again. So if that happens to you, you're going to have a funk. And this is what you can do, is look at that perfect job that you've written and remind yourself of that prize in the room. All right. So then also you want to develop a process that's been proven to work. You want to use a process that's been proven to work. It doesn't have to be our process. It could be a lot of different things. But if you found in your career that most of your jobs were through your friends, reach out to your friends. Make sure you know what to say to them, but you're going to reach out to them. And you might reach out to them every 3 weeks or so. In fact, you can ask them, just like you would ask a recruiter, how often do you want me to reach out to you to make sure I'm top of mind? And then every 3 weeks, just give them a quick email and let them know what your status is. So develop a process that's been proven to work for you in the past, or with an agency like ours, where you're partnering with someone to actually help you land that perfect job, and also to help you negotiate. That's a big thing. So then follow that process. I know this sounds very simple, like incredibly simple, too simple, but follow the process that you've laid out. Whatever that process is, what you're doing is acting proactively. And so much of a bad job search or an unproductive job search is reactive. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive in everything you do. Because when you're reactive in your decision making, you're coming from the place of emotions, and you're not coming from a logical place. And you're going to make wrong decisions. You're going to make short-term decisions and not long-term decisions if you're being reactive. And so you want to make sure that you are always proactive in everything that you do. Now, keep in mind, this is a marathon and not a sprint. Even if somebody, like for instance, Glenn, the guy that got a job in 8 weeks in artificial intelligence, very highly competitive. He was in the Bay Area, still is. And he got a job he got a COO position within 8 weeks. But I tell you, before that 8 weeks, he was absolutely riding that roller coaster. He was settling in for a long search. So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. For most of us, it's going to take some time to find that perfect position. And you want to have faith in the process. And you know what? I'm going to move myself over here so that I can get so that we can see everything. So get faith in the process, and don't take rejection personally. That's a really big thing. It probably doesn't have anything to do with your lack of something, or that you weren't a great fit. Now, they may have said, we found somebody that was a better cultural fit, and that's fine. But don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. It's them, and it wasn't meant to be. It could mean that you were meant for something even better. So just don't take any kind of rejection personally. And then go back to your written definition of that perfect job that we talked about a few minutes ago. Use that so that you can keep that eye on the prize. All right. So let's talk about the calls that you make. These could be networking calls. These could be exploratory calls with the person that might have hiring authority to create a job for you, or actually a budget authority to create a job for you. So it would be the person that would be your boss. Reach out to those people on LinkedIn and ask for an exploratory conversation, and really make the call about them that you'd like to pick their brain. So when you have a call, whether that's a networking call, a call with somebody you know really well, and you're just letting them know that you're in a job search, or a call with someone that you've never talked to before, a little bit more formal exploratory call, you want to have a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3 goal for each call. Let's talk about what those are. So the number 1 goal is, do you have the means to hire me? In other words, you want to find out on that first opportunity, that first conversation, are you someone that can hire me? whether or not it's the right time, at least I want to know if I got the right person, if I got the right guy or gal. So do you have the means to hire me? And if so, and you want to explore this further, then ask for the sale. And the sale is another meeting. And that could be a Zoom call if you had a phone call. That could be a face-to-face if you're able to stand or sit 6 feet away from each other. Or it could just be talking to somebody else in that office. So let's say you're talking to the CEO and you're going for a COO position. You might say, is there a VP, that somebody you trust that you want me to talk to as well? To have a conversation that's actually putting you and creating a hiring process. So that's number one. That's the number one goal for every call that you're making as far as networking and job searching. Okay. Now the number two, I'm just going to have to move myself all over the place, aren't I? Do you know of anyone that has the means of hiring me? In other words, if you're not the guy, so that was number one. That's our number one objective. Are you the person that will hire me? Are you the gal that's going to give me a job? If they're not, then the second goal for the call is, do you know of anyone that would be the hiring manager? In other words, do you know of someone that would have the hiring authority and the budget authority to create a position for me if they have a need that I would fill very well? And so then you would ask them, okay, so if you know of anyone that could possibly hire me, can I have their name and the company where they work? I'll look them up and I'll follow up with them. The reason you want to say that rather than having an introduction, because I know it's counterintuitive. A lot of people would think, well, why don't I have them introduce me? It's much warmer that way. Well, the problem is, especially if they don't know you very well, they probably won't end up doing the introduction. And also, it's a very passive way of searching. If you're waiting for someone to actually make the introduction, don't do that. Be more proactive and say, what's the name and where do they work? And then you reach out to them via like a LinkedIn connection request. And you say, I just got off the phone with Stan, Kramer, and he said that I should be talking to you. Can we set up a call? And then you don't even have to say that you're looking for a job at that point. And they connect with you. And then you talk with them on the phone and say, yeah, Stan Kramer told me to give you a call. So you want to be proactive and not wait until they are, don't wait for them to make the introduction. You want to do it and be proactive about it. All right. Now, the third goal for the call. So if you ask, should we be continuing to have a conversation? And if not, do you know someone who might need my skills? And if that doesn't work, goal number 3 is there anybody else that I should be talking with or networking with? And if so, can I have their name and the company name? And can I tell them that you sent me? So you're just wanting to use it. It's just as warm for you to reach out, and it's proactive, and you're maintaining control of the process. So you want to do as much as you can to maintain control of the process whenever you can. So ask them for number 3, can I have their name of their name and the company name, and then reach out to them yourself. All right. So then I've got some notes for the unemployed. So I was unemployed for a year when I got let go from American Century Investments. This was before I was in the career field. This was a different life. And I was there for 10 years, got let go on my 10-year anniversary, had no idea it was coming. I just got back from maternity leave with my second daughter. And 2 days after maternity leave, boom, got my pink slip and my 10-year anniversary attaché bag, a Coach actually, and got that at the same time. So I know what it's like to be unemployed. I know what it's like to have those really dark days. I will tell you, these are the things that I've found that I've told my clients to do when they're looking for a job and they're unemployed. Stick with the habits that you had. For instance, when you were working, I want you to get dressed. That's really important, at least from the waist up. put some good clothes on. You will act differently if you are dressed for the part, believe it or not. You can put the sweats on, and you can be in your jammies if you want to, but you're going to act like you're in your jammies if you do that. If you get dressed, and I'm not saying you have to wear a 3-piece suit, or a dress. What I'm saying is you have to, ladies, if you usually wear makeup, put your makeup on in the morning, and be present like you're actually going to search for a job. Now, keep in mind, it does not take 40 hours to look for a job. I understand when you're unemployed, you are, your job is looking for a job. I get that. But it's about a 30 to 35 hour a week type of thing, where you're talking to a lot of people. You're kissing a lot of frogs to find your prince is what you're doing. And so you want to act as if you were working. If you always got up at 5:30 and took a shower first thing in the morning, do that. Don't get out of that habit. Trust me, you don't want to be in the house. We all know this because we've been sequestered for 3 months. So we know what it's like to not go outside for 3 months, 12 weeks. So put your clothes on, get ready like you're going to work. And then if a Zoom call comes up very quickly, man, you're on it because you're dressed nice, you're ready to go. All you need is your notes and you're ready to have a conversation. So also, since it only does take 30, 35 hours a week to do a good search, and that's if you're unemployed. With employed clients, I find that if you can at least spend 5 or 6 hours a week searching, then you're going to do really well. If you've got less than 5 hours a week, it's really hard to do a very effective search. So that's just kind of the number of hours that you need for employed people versus unemployed people. But if you're unemployed, use this time to complete your passion projects. What are those things that you've always wanted to get done, you've never gotten done? Take 3 days and do it. Take 4 or 5 days and do it. Don't know what it is, but if there's a toilet that needs replacing, maybe it's a household repair, something like that. Boy, I've been meaning to get that windshield fixed. Whatever it is, go ahead and get it done and make that a project. And getting a window fixed isn't necessarily a passion project, but if there's something that you've always wanted to do, take this opportunity to do it. And also, I forget this one all the time, and therefore I want to make sure that I remind myself as well as reminding you, and that is to move. There's so much data that shows that you are in a better mood when you take a walk, a 15-minute walk every day or every other day. But I've got a screened-in back porch, and in between calls, if I have a couple of minutes, I'll get up and I'll walk around in the back porch outside because you're breathing outside air. And I'm looking at the trees and I'm looking at the hayfield out back. Yes, I have a hayfield out back here in Kansas City, Missouri. And so, take a little time and go outside. Even if it's hot, even if it's cold, at least you know what the world feels like that day. So, don't forget to move. Just don't forget to move. And then finally, take time for some self-care. A very, very close, I consider him a friend. He's one of my clients, and a very, very close client of mine had some big things happen all at once. How things happen in threes. He had 3 really bad things happen to him at once in his life, around him, not him personally. And he sent me a text because I was checking up on him. How you doing? How, are you doing all right? And he said, it's very cliche, but I'm getting back to what's important. It just reminded me of what's important in life. And I'm just making sure that I find time for what's important in life. And that's, of course, the family that I love and the friends that I care for. So you have to think about what is truly important to you. And if you've got some extra time, go ahead and do those things that are important to you. Do the things that you never had a chance to do. This is your opportunity. All right. So also, don't take rejection personally. We talked about this before, and being proactive and not reactive. Most of the time when I do see that our clients didn't get the job that they really wanted, it just wasn't meant to be. And when they finally do get the job that they were meant to be in, then they're very happy that they didn't get that first job. So don't take it personally. Just know that it wasn't meant to be. And you don't have any control over how many other people were applying for it, or how the automated system, the applicant tracking system, looked at your resume. I mean, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control, such as recruiter behavior. Although we can do some things to control human behavior a little bit, but for the most part, it's out of your control. And do be proactive in your decision making and in your actions rather than reactive. That's really important. Now, I want to talk about handling rejection, and then I'll tell you why. Sorry, drinking. Okay, I got a drinking problem. It's actually good water. So I found that the up and down roller coaster mainly affects people that are job searching in a bad way when they get a rejection. They've gone through a hiring process. They've done a tremendous amount of study. I've spent a lot of time with them prior to every single conversation. So for instance, with a half-hour phone conversation with the hiring manager, we may spend 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 hours together to make sure that everything is on point and there's nothing that you can't answer personally, or just absolutely 100% correct. So if you're doing all of that work and then you find out that they're going in another direction, that they've closed the position, that you just didn't get it, you came in second, these are things that will help you handle the rejection. So first, you really want to breathe. You want to slow down. And that's really important. You want to remind yourself to stay calm and just enjoy life. You know, when you find out, go outside. And whatever it is that you love to do, find ways to incorporate that into your daily life right after the rejection. Because yes, it will keep your mind off of it, but also if you do things that you love, you're going to be a much happier person. So then the next thing is reframe your mindset. So what I mean by that is the mind is extremely powerful, and you can reframe your mindset to focus on what is now in the present moment. In other words, once you get the notification that you're rejected, you practice gratitude, celebrate all of the good things that are happening in your life. May not have anything to do with job searching, but you want to remind yourself, okay, that's now in the past. We're going to face forward. We're going to move forward now. Okay. And that actually, I've got to do a lot of triage, and all of our coaches are trained in that. Doing that triage after you get the rejection is really putting you back in that great mindset again. All right. So then number 3 is create or lean into a support network. So, you know, none of us can solve these global challenges that we're faced with today. Leaning into family and friends is really a critical part of creating impact and taking care of ourselves at the same time. I really think that we're better together when we've got our family, we've got our friends, we've got our support group. I hate to call it a support group, but when you're down after a rejection, sometimes you need something like a support group. Maybe you just want to vent. Maybe you just want to, I know that I hear the post-mortem stories after every interview. I know how well it went, and I can tell them whether they did the very best that they could do. And if they've done the very best, everything else is out of their control. So it is really a good time to be stronger as a group. And I think that we give each other energy. You know, we're going to do an exercise in a little bit around energy. And I'm going to show you how to change your negative energy into positive energy within a 3-minute exercise. I'm going to show you that. So number 4 is control your health. I am somebody, I got to tell you, I don't control my health as much as I should because I work so many hours because I love what I do. But it is important right now to boost your immune system. And I do take a lot of supplements, actually. And so boosting the immune system is actually a great way to control your health and your well-being as well. So exercise, even if it's light exercise, relaxation, there's There's a lot of relaxation techniques that are out there, especially on YouTube. A lot of stuff, a lot of like guided meditation stuff that's really good out on YouTube that's free. So also consuming foods that are high in vitamins, and also getting that deep and restful sleep. All of that's very, very important in taking care of yourself. And then number 5 is really don't panic, just reflect. So one of the best ways to stay positive in the face of uncertainty is simply to be secure in knowing that you've done your best and learn to let go of those things that you can't control. So also use this time to, it's kind of a forced pause to reflect on things that matter in your life. Think about, through this job search, what are the things that are really important to me? What is really important? So be thinking about what that is. Reflect on that. Take a little time, lick your wounds a little bit, and then move on. That was in the past. That was then. This is now. All right. So then, what is the perfect job search mindset? So the first thing sounds really corny, but it's really just saying to yourself that you're refusing to cave, right? So, I've had a lot of very tough challenges, I know, in my life, in my business. And what I've found to be a very important coping strategy, and I'm embarrassed because it's so simple, is really just reminding myself that I'm not going to cave. In other words, I'm not going to let anything beat me. So, that's something that we can control. And I used to be a huge control freak, and to a certain extent, I still am. But, if you just say caving is not an option, I will not cave. That'll do a great amount for your self-esteem. You're just going to push through it. And you'll find, just remember, with a roller coaster, there are the downs, but there's also the ups that have the great view. And that's what you want to do is get back up to the up. So then the second piece is repurposing any pep talks or recovery strategies that you've had in your past. So for instance, if you think about tough times a long time ago, who did you turn to for support? How did you get through the tough time? What did you do in self-care that got you through that tough time? So be thinking about, even like when you were a teenager or a young adult, what did you do to get through tough times? And then use the same people, use the same recovery strategies from the past, and whatever worked before is probably going to work now as well. All right. So you're committed to not caving, which is terrific, but now what? So really think about the times when you really ultimately prevailed or progressed, because as you know, it's the tough times when we grow. So how did you grow? Where did you really progress at? Okay. And then this is something that I've said before, but I want you to spend your energy only on things that you can control. So, literally, you can make a list of the aspects of the job search that you can influence or you can impact. And, maybe you decide to go ahead and call that friend that works at the dream company that you really want to work at, and you decide to have that chat. Or you figure out how to use LinkedIn. Actually, I've got a really good LinkedIn video. And if you want to put your email address, actually, just say, I want the video, and we have your name. But if you want to make sure you get it, you can either email me at Tammy, Tammy, at beyondjobsearching.com, or you can put it in the chat, and we can make sure that we get you that LinkedIn video. I can always tell when somebody's watched that video because they have a polish on their LinkedIn that other people don't have. So if you want to learn some secrets about how to do a lot of things on LinkedIn that most people don't know you can do, then put your email address in chat, or just give us your name and we'll look you up on the registration, and we'll make sure that we email that to you. Okay. And also look for, some of the things you can control, and I've mentioned this last time, is some education. If you want to get a new skill, if you want to learn something, I'm currently taking a course in Coursera, and you can, for $49, you can get a certification in that. So You can get out of that ruminating mode and really make moves that are actually helpful if you have that list of things that you can control. All right. Now, here's something too that I just put in here. I really think that you can turn the job search into a game. So if you get a rejection, everybody feels really crappy about that. But it's not uncommon when you're talking to survivors of major catastrophes, like the ship went down, but you were able to survive. It's actually many times it's actually common that they will attribute their ability to stay alive with gamification. So gamification is basically turning anything in your life into a game. So think about, what can you give yourself positive points for in the activities that you do on a daily basis? And also count all of your no's. The more no's you get, the closer you are to yes. I think there's a book, it's a sales book, and I think it's called Say Yes to No, or the Power of No, or something like that. I think it's Say Yes to No. And it's just a parable about a salesperson who was using just a point system. How many no's can you get? Because they know from sales that for every 49 no's, you get one yes. So you want to get closer to that 49 no's. It's the same thing with job searching. What can you do from a point system that can give you extra points for doing something, get to a next level, whatever it might be? We've actually talked about gamifying some of our services too, because we find that that's a very powerful technique. So, I often encourage distressed job seekers to view their entire job search in the manner of like a game, and keep this in mind, a game that you intend to win. So how are you going to win it? Is it by getting those positive points? If you get 100 points, you're probably going to get a job. For each point, it might be a phone call that you make. It might be an email that you send. It might be the hiring manager that you reach out to. That could give you a point. So start thinking of it as a game and collect your points and win it. Win it. And then finally, the fifth piece is really get help from people that you know. We're all human. We're not perfect machines, and things many times just don't go as planned. You had a plan in your head that you were going to get a job in 3 months, even though that was unrealistic. And maybe I even told you that was unrealistic, but you had that plan, and sometimes things just don't go as planned. So you could get very sad, you could get very mad, angry, or you could start to feel really hopeless, like I did when I was unemployed for a year, which is a really dark place. Trust me, I know that dark place. But if it's disabling you, don't go it alone. Find somebody to talk to, and actually somebody to talk to. And I'm going to invite you to talk to my husband, because he's fantastic. He actually will spend a good amount of time with you in whatever it is that you're wanting out of us, how we can best serve you. He would be very happy to talk with you. But first, let's go through an exercise today. Now, I know you can't see this probably because it's pretty small, but in today's exercise, what I want to do is show you how to shift your energy. All right. So I want you to, let's do this exercise together. It takes 3 minutes. And at the end of this call, we're going to give you the slides to this so that you can read each of these pieces and you can do these pieces. So you start, what we're going to do is we're going to change your energy within 3 minutes. It's a really cool activity. All right. So that you first start by inviting in a deep breath. And if you can, and if you feel comfortable doing so, then gently close your eyes. And to begin, first of all, I want you to notice how you're feeling at the moment. What are your feelings at this moment? And if you're in an office space, you don't have to close your eyes. You could just listen on your phone and notice the emotions and the feelings and the sensations that are most predominantly with you right now. So just as lightly, see if you know why you're feeling those emotions. And if you already know and the answer comes very easily, then just acknowledge that reason why you're feeling those emotions. And then let that emotion go by taking a long breath in and out. And if you're uncertain of why you're feeling how you're feeling right now, that's perfectly okay. And you can also take a long breath in and out. And you're just going to let go of any tension. Now, I invite you to take 3 more deep breaths. You can think of these as your resetting breaths. And what we're doing is we're actually allowing your nervous system to completely relax, which is kind of hard for some of us. So as you complete your 3rd breath, place your attention on your heart and let it rest there for a moment. And then notice any feelings within you that are not of your existing energy, but of a different energy. And what I'm talking about is a feeling of ease or compassion, relief, or just relaxation, or even just a feeling of neutrality or spaciousness. So notice any sensations that are now here and different than the ones before. And I want you to keep your attention on these new and fresh, comfortable feelings until you feel connected to this new state. Okay, do you feel the connection in your heart? And then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Now that took probably less than 3 minutes, and it completely changed the energy. I know it changed the energy in me, and it may have changed the energy in you, and it just calms us down. You can do this 3-minute exercise anytime. And what it allows you to do is go from being reactive, which is not the place you want to be in a job search, to being proactive. Okay? And you always want to do things from a proactive standpoint and not reactive. Reactive is an animal in a cage being poked by a stick. Proactive is being strategic and you're planning every step of the way. Okay? All right. So we went through all of the energy pieces there. Now, we are here to help. I got my picture of my husband up there. That's Brian. And he can be reached at Brian at Career Resume Consulting. And I can be reached at Tammy at beyondjobsearching.com. And put in the chat how you're feeling right now. What are the emotions that are coming up for you? What are the feelings that are coming up for you? Because I'd love to see that in the chat. I read every single chat log. I read it in detail. So let me know how you're feeling about that. Is there any change? And if there isn't any change, let me know. But if there is, then put it out there. And now I'm going to ask Lacey to put up Brian's pretty picture because he is my lovely and talented Brian. And his schedule actually is a little bit more open than mine. So if you want to talk with him, we can set it up, Lacey, to show the picture of Brian and put that up there. So here's what I want you to think about. So, if what I've said and what I've taught you today resonated, and you found value in that, and you're currently in a position where you're searching for a job and you might be looking for a community or you might be looking for a coach to support and help you find that perfect job and get paid what you're worth. But more importantly, that role that checks all of your boxes, that's really important that you define what those boxes are and then you go for them. So if you're unsure about how great your interview skills are, if you're getting phone interviews but you're not getting face-to-face interviews, or you're not getting any calls and you never really got traction in your search, or maybe you're just starting your search and you don't have a solid plan. You don't know what your plan is going to be after you get your resume done. You really want a plan that's proven to work, whether it's ours or somebody else's or something that you've researched and it's worked for you before. But if you don't have a solid plan and you're not gaining a lot of traction, then I encourage you to book a call with Brian, because we've literally since 2008, 12 years, we've worked with a few thousand people to help them get exactly where you want to be. So actually, we're getting ready to open enrollment for our group interview coaching program that I mentioned before, and it's going to be opening up in July. So the program itself is going to start the first week of August, and we're opening enrollment in July. So whether you're looking for that interview support, or really just building that rockstar resume and LinkedIn profile, or you're wanting to actively reach out to the hidden job market, then, book a time with Brian, and he can give you a lot of really good advice. At least, at the very least, he can give you what your marketability is in today's job market, and really give you an idea, a sense of what the market is like in your local area. And these are a few things that we help people with. If you feel stuck, then book a call with Brian and see if we can help you with those things. So now let's go ahead and answer some questions. So I am going to get out my questions for today's live stream. Give me just a moment. All right. And let's see if we have any questions from the Peanut Gallery. All right. And, as we're going into the questions, while you're doing that, would you put in chat that, yes, you're interested in the interview coaching program? It's a group coaching program. It's at about a fraction. Well, it is a fraction of the price of what we usually charge in our one-on-one interview coaching, but it's going to be the exact same information. So if you would be interested in that, I'm not holding you to anything. I'm just wanting to know if you would be interested, because I've not actually said this to anybody that I'm wanting to do this. So you guys are the first ones. So I would love to know if you would be interested in the group program, if that sounds attractive to you. I'm not going to give you any, we're putting it together. I'm not going to go into detail here. This isn't supposed to be a pitch fest. So, please, if you're interested, go say yes in the chat room. So let's go into the questions. So I did get a lot of questions. I'm going to do as many questions as I possibly can today. And so the first one comes from Audrey, and she said, how can I compete with younger college graduates? And is it too late for a career change at 55? And are my skills outdated? Well, I don't know what your skills are, Audrey, so I don't know if they're outdated. They're probably not. We haven't met a 55-year-old yet that has outdated skills, with the exception of maybe a coder that was coding in something that is not used before or not used anymore, like you're coding in AS400 or something. I don't even know if that's a language. But yeah, I love IT guys and women, but I don't know the technology. But that's a really good question, because there are younger college graduates out there that are cheaper than you. What you have to do, Audrey, is think of yourself as a standalone investment rather than a candidate. So if you can show that you can pay for yourself very quickly, even if you're more expensive than the 25-year-old, the 35-year-old, because you have more experience, there's a lot that's really it's very powerful stuff. So you want to quantify your achievements and put those quantifications, those numbers, because people are attracted to numbers, put those on your LinkedIn, put them on your resume, and you're going to be seen as someone that will pay for themselves very quickly. That's what I recommend for you. It's definitely how you can compete with the younger college graduates, because they don't have the numbers that you do from your 30 years of experience. And also, is it too late for a career change at 55? Yeah. 70% of people who change jobs these days change careers, change industries. And so, no, it's not too late for a career change at all. In fact, oftentimes at 55, it's easier to get a better job than to go take a step down or take a lateral move. It's easier to get a higher job when you're older. So consider that, because it could be that people are perceiving you as overqualified. So if you're getting if you're always coming in number 2 to somebody who's much younger and much cheaper, it could be that you are applying for positions that are beneath your qualifications. So perhaps start looking at higher level positions and apply for those and see what kind of traction you can get from them. Okay, so then Randall says, it's a good mindset question. What should my mindset be when I walk into the interview room or start the Zoom room? Can I start a conversation right away, or should I show the hiring manager deference? And do I try to match the person across from me in terms of energy? Energies, we just did an energy shift there. And yes, I would match their energy. Absolutely. In fact, there is a neuro-linguistic programming thing, a technique called mirroring, where you're actually mirroring how fast they talk and how loud they talk. And if they talk loud and fast like me, then become more animated, because people like people who communicate like them. And so absolutely match that. And it is okay to start the conversation. In fact, what I always recommend is after you answer 2 questions, say, hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? And then ask a question of them. Find out about what their challenges are or what their aspirations are for the team or for the company. And then show them that you're very relevant to what it is that they're trying to achieve, whether it's to overcome a problem or to get to an aspiration. So Jeff says, how do you approach finding a job when you cannot relocate because you need to stay near your kids? Great question. And I'm going to answer it differently than I would have 6 months ago, because the lockdown made everyone aware of how productive we can be if we work from home. Now, when I was looking at the numbers, it turns out 30% of people can work from home, but only 3.5% to 4% before the pandemic actually did work from home. And so I recommend that when you're talking with a company, that you talk with them about the possibility of working remotely. A lot of VPs and some C-suites are actually doing a lot of remote work from home. So you don't, and that also covers the problem like Brett had, where he's in Boise, which is a pretty small market, and he needed to make sure, and he was looking for a very high level job. So he ended up going outside of Boise to go to other places. And he ended up, talking with someone in Columbus, Ohio, and he got a wonderful job out of that. So be open to possibly, if you can't relocate and you've got a smaller market, then go ahead and ask if you can work remotely. But don't ask too early. Sell yourself first. In other words, make sure that you show your value proposition and they're really interested in you before you mention, hey, I would really like to stay here. And that way they're thinking, oh, I really want this guy. So yeah, let's let him stay here. Even if they weren't even thinking that in the beginning. Okay. So Elmer says, when you've made it through many interviews and you get to the final decision stage on several different occasions, only to be told by everyone that they thought you were a great candidate and you interviewed well, but you were not selected for the final decision, how do you avoid feeling like you're doing something wrong, or that you're not being told about your feedback? Anything at all. It sounds like he just wants something. And actually, Elmer, I recommend, if you're on the call or listening to this later, that you book a call with Brian. I think that's really important, because he can listen to the way that you're interviewing. He can ask you some diagnostic questions and let you know if you're interviewing like a top performer and it's not you at all. Maybe you're interviewing for things that you're overqualified for, which happens to a lot of our clients before they come to us. And then he can tell you whether it's you or whether it's something else. It could be that it has nothing to do with you. So don't take the rejection personally, because there are a lot of factors that are outside your control. The number one thing that you have in your control is your mindset and how you think about things. So I would strongly recommend that you just talk with Brian or another professional that is really good at interview coaching so that they can tell you if there's certain things. It may be that you're saying just one thing wrong and you need to fix that one thing. So that may be the answer. So Yvonne says, I know it's very important not to dominate the conversation during an interview, but I can come across as very confident and as a good conversationalist. When I like or feel good or a feel good rapport has been built, but what cues can you help me be more aware of to increase my chances of being selected for the roles I interview for? So it sounds like you're very confident, that you come across as very self-assured, but as far as nonverbal cues, there's a lot of things that you can do by watching their nonverbal communication. I've actually got a nonverbal communication cheat sheet that has like 76 or 78 different nonverbal communications and what they mean. Just email me or email Brian, and then, or just put your email in the chat if you're here, Yvonne, and we'll send you that cheat sheet. And if anybody else wants it, just put your email address and we'll send you the nonverbal communication list. Okay. All right. Well, it's 12 o'clock. Let me see. I think we've got one question from here. Let's see here. Would you ever advise someone to start a business versus looking for a job? Actually, yeah, we do. I don't advertise it, but I help people start consulting businesses. And so far in the last 2 years, every single person that I've helped do that, which is probably around 10 or 12, has always had their first client, big paying client, in 60 days. So it's doable. Yes, you can do that. In fact, in bad times, it's actually easier to get a consulting gig than it is to get a W-2 job, because think about, like, if you're a top performer and you're making $300,000, they're much more likely to pay $75,000 to fix a problem than to pay $300,000 a year to fix the problem. So yeah, you could certainly do that. And then when reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, what response rate do you typically see? And do you often see a delay before a response? We find that 80% of the people that will respond on LinkedIn do respond within 48 hours. And then another 20% respond within about 7 to 10 days, usually about 7 days. So what we'll do is we will send a connection request, and we will wait until you get at least a 30% response rate, or you've waited for maybe 7 to 10 days, and then we send a follow-up message to the people that did respond. Most of the time, though, if it's been like 3 weeks, just take the connection request off, because they're not going to. They don't wait 3 weeks to connect with you. So within a week, you're going to know if they're going to connect with you. So that's the last question that I have time for. We are. Let's see. Give me just a second. I want to see if I'm missing any other questions. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I do want to know, put yes again if you're interested in the group interview coaching program. It's going to be it's less than a third of the price of our one-on-one interview coaching. And it's going to be all of the best stuff, and it's actually being taught by me. I would love to know if you're interested in that. Should we even be doing this? I would love to know if there's a lot of interest there. So please put the word yes in the chat if that's something that you would want to explore and something that you'd want to talk with us about. So we're not big salespeople, so we're not going to come chase you down, and we're not going to pester you. But I would like to know if it sounds like it would be interesting for you. So that is it, guys. I really appreciate all of you hanging in for so long. And remember to book a time with Brian if you get a chance. This is the last minute or so, and then we're going to go ahead and end the call. And I hope this has helped you today. I hope that, let's see, how do I take this slide? And there we go. All right, there we go. I just wanted to say hello. I hope that you got a lot out of this presentation and a lot out of the exercise that you can do anytime, night or day, when you're having a stressful moment. Just, you can even go to the bathroom and close your eyes and do some deep breathing, and you'll come out a different person. So I hope that helps. And we'll see you next week. I'm thinking we did get a lot of questions around, specific questions around interviewing, and I'd love to spend some time around interviewing next time. So, and also, Lacey, if you get a chance, if you haven't yet, can you put the PDF to winning the job search mindset, or a winning job search mindset? Can you put that PDF out so everyone can get the PDF? Because I definitely want to give the people the PDF. Let's see. All right. So I just want to make sure that that's still going. All right. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. And if you have any extra questions, just email them to me. I'll definitely get to them next week. All right. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.